Hey gang, welcome back to Grace's Book Place. I'm Grace and this is my book place. Today we're going to be doing 22 in 2022. This is essentially just me listing 22 books I would like to prioritise reading in 2022. Hopefully by the end of the year we can revisit this video and we can see how many of these books I actually read. And shame me if it's not all of them. None of these books are going to be new releases. I am trying my best to prioritise books that I own this year. So all of these books will be books I already physically own on either of my carts or my bookshelf. Though most of the bookshelf is red, so it'll be mainly on these two bad boys. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. We got 22 books to briefly list and give a description of. So let's kick it off with number 1, which is Amari and the Night Brothers. Amari and the Night Brothers is middle grade, it's magic, it's epic, supposedly. I've not read it, but I'm excited for it. I got this book for Christmas, so it's fairly new to me. It's not like a TBR vet or anything, but I've been wanting to read it for so long and I'm going to prioritise this one fairly soon. I've got a very gorgeous copy with silver sparkly pages that I don't know if you can see very well, but they're there. The back just says, I didn't even know that real magic existed until yesterday. If having magic makes me a magician, and magicians are the enemies of the supernatural world, then what's going to happen to me now? Some of my descriptions of these books, by the way, might not be accurate because I make a point of not going out of my way to know too much about a book before I read it. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but from what I vaguely know of this book so far is that Amari's brother goes missing and nobody's taking it seriously. She's desperate to find him. She finds a suitcase or something that includes like a letter to recruit to the Night Brothers or this magic organization. And she joins up and has a great magic time whilst going on an epic quest to find her brother. Number 2 on my list is How to Kill Your Family. How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie is another one that I only got in December for my birthday, I believe. The back just says, meet Grace Bernard. Or Grace Bernard. I'm assuming it's Bernard if it's a last name, but who knows. Daughter, sister, colleague, friend, serial killer. Grace has lost everything and now she wants revenge. I believe what this is a woman is convicted of a murder she didn't commit, but she's more frustrated that if she's going to get caught, it's not going to be for the murder she did commit. I think it's that classic sort of serial killer sort of, if I'm going to get caught, I want credit for what I actually did and I want people to know because I'm proud of it, you know, that kind of weird thing. But I believe this is like a dark comedy about a girl who kills 8 members of her family. 6 members of her family. This is another one that I'd like to get to really soon. None of these are in any particular order, by the way. I'm only saying number 1 and number 2 because I've got them written down in a list, but I didn't write them out like in order of priority or preference. I just wrote them out as I remembered them, so there's no order to this. Number 3 is Frostheart. Frostheart by Jamie Littler is a middle grade that I don't know that much about. I know it's adventurous, I know it's set in snow, I know there's magic and all of that stuff, and all of those things are right up my alley. The main reason that I've picked this one up is because Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin loves this book and has been talking about it non-stop, and since taking part in Believer-thon, which is run by Gavin, I have been wanting to read far more middle grade, and this is one of his main recommendations. So if you're gonna do it right. Step on board the Frostheart and join the adventure. I think there's like a train. I don't know why I think there's a train. Maybe it's a ship. It might not. I don't think there's a train. I think there's a boat. So I don't know why I thought there was a train. But anyway, epic quest, found family-ish vibes I'm getting. Oh, an explorer sleigh. It's a sleigh. It's not a ship. So this was a train wreck. Number 4 is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race is a book, like, we're now getting into my TBR vets, basically. Like, I've had this one for a long time, but like I've been saying in recent videos, I struggle with nonfiction, not because I don't enjoy it, just to pick it up and everything, but this is one that I need to because it's important. There's plenty of others as well that I need to because they're important, but I don't necessarily own all of those yet, and I am hoping to in the future. This is probably the most important nonfiction that I own to read out of my physical library, so I'm prioritizing reading this one. in 2022. This will probably be one of the first non-fictions I read, aside from this month where I'm finishing off a couple of non-fictions that I didn't finish last year. But after that, this will probably be one of the ones that I prioritise the most. The next one on my list is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read The Night Circus last year, really enjoyed it, and I know people adore this one, and it's another one of those ones that sort of, like, Night Circus already had this sort of like cult following in a way, and when Erin Morgenstern brought this out, it was just insane because of how many people loved The Night Circus, and I'm fairly sure I've seen like a lot of creators on here and stuff who have like a load of copies of The Starless Sea and it's one of their favourite books and they have a Starless Sea shelf and stuff like that. So I want to see what all of the fuss is about, and I want to finally get to it because it's another one that I've had for a long time and I really like Erin Morgenstern's writing. The next one is Detransition Baby by Tory Peters. This one is one that I've been wanting to read for ages as well. I don't know why I haven't really. I think that like when I bought this I was super excited for it, and then like I think it was during the time where I wasn't on a book buying ban and I bought other things and became obsessed with the new things, as always happens. So I'd really like to read this one. I think it's a fairly important read as well. It's a trans author. There was a whole controversy about it being included in Women's Prize for Fiction and all of that stuff. So I just really would love to read it and enjoy it because it looks really good. I believe this story is about, the inside cover says a uniquely trans take on love, motherhood, and those exes who just can't quit. I think it's to do with an ex contacting the main character and talking about raising a child together or something, like the ex is pregnant or so, I'm not sure. The next one is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I have been wanting to read this one for ages and it's so short and it's like thriller horror stuff and I don't know why I haven't read it yet because it's everything I've been after. Like I keep talking about wanting to read more thrillers and horrors and darker stories and stuff, and this one's a really short one that got quite big, so I assume it's fairly accessible or not too crazy because a lot of people really enjoyed it. I could be wrong and maybe it's just crazy but everyone enjoyed it anyway. I believe this is a nurse whose sister has been known to potentially off her spouses or boyfriends or whatever, but when she starts taking an interest in, I think, a doctor at the hospital, her sister starts dating the doctor where the main character works as a nurse, but the main character's been in love with this doctor for a while, so it's a whole decision on whether she helps her sister out, backs her sister up because I think she's helped cover up some of the previous murders, or whether she prioritizes her love for this man who I don't know if he loves her back. So she's torn between her love for a dude and her love for her murderous sister. The next two can sort of be spoken about together. They are Spying on Whales by Nick Pienson, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Fathoms, The World in the Whale by Rebecca Giggs. These are two of my non-fictions that I have about whales. My favourite animal in the whole world is the whale, specifically the blue whale, but anything that counts as a whale is fascinating to me. And I would really like to spend more time learning about this. Like, this is an interest that I have. There are pictures of whales and whale plushies and clothing with whales and books with whales on the cover all over my house because I love them. This is getting weird. I have these two and also the Natural History Museum whales book. When they did their whale exhibit a couple of years ago, I went to that and had a great time and got this one too. This isn't technically on my 2022, but just to show you that I have a lot of whale non-fiction that I have to read. So I'm prioritizing these two. I want to read both of these this year and just learn more about whales because they're cool. The next one is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I'm genuinely extremely excited for this book. I know that a lot of people find big books daunting. I am somebody who loves big books. This is just everything I want by the sounds of it. A feminist Lord of the Rings. Yes, please. I would just really like to dive into a chunky fantasy, and I hope I get a chance to do this soon. I might literally just make a whole month, like, this is the TBR. Maybe we'll do that soon. The next one on my list of books to read in 2022 is A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. Another important read about the environment and animals and nature and all that stuff. I just feel like I need to get to this one fairly quickly because, I mean, I've had this one for a long time. Like a lot of the ones, like the ones we're currently going through that are from this cart are my older ones, and anything that I've received more recently is on this one. I feel like this is going to be a really informative, hard-hitting read, and I'm really excited for it because I love David Attenborough, who doesn't, and I care about the planet and I care about animals, so this is a win-win. The back says, "We share Earth with the living world, the most remarkable life support system imaginable, constructed over billions of years. The planet's stability has wavered just as its biodiversity has declined. The two things are bound together. To restore stability to our planet, therefore, we must restore its biodiversity, the very thing we have removed. It is the only way out of this crisis that we ourselves have created. We must rewild the world." The next one that I have on this list is kind of purely here for the hype or the conversation surrounding it, but it is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I know a lot of people love this, but it feels like it's a bit Marmite-y, like you either love or hate it. And I've had it for so long now, like since it first came out, that I really just need to read it so I can have an opinion on that. Like, I'm really interested to see what everyone's been banging on about. I feel like most people know what this book is about at this point, but in case you don't, our main character, I think, is contemplating suicide, or I don't know if she does it or not. Obviously, I haven't read this, so beware of that before you go into it. But I believe she gets a chance. She goes to the Midnight Library, which is this weird in-between place, and she gets a chance to relive or live out versions of her life if she'd made different decisions, to sort of see how it would have gone if it would have been any different. I am intrigued, and I will let you guys know what I think as soon as I get around to it. The next book on my list is Pine by Francine. This is a thriller horror book that was really popular last year. I've had it for ages, and I really just need to get on it. I need to read the thriller horror stuff that I have before I start actually actively working on reading more horror and getting more different new titles and all of that stuff. I did not realise it was set in the Highlands, which is interesting to me. I'm really hoping that it's better than The Hunting Party, which was also set in the Highlands, and I really did not enjoy that as a thriller horror thing. I didn't think it was very good. Let's hope this is a slightly better one. Lauren and her father Niall live alone in the Highlands in a small village surrounded by forest. When a woman stumbles onto the road one Halloween night, Niall drives her back to their house. In the morning, she's gone. In a community where daughters rebel and men quietly rage, mysteries like these are not out of the ordinary. Lauren looks for answers in her tarot cards, hoping she might be able to read her father's turbulent mind. Neighbours know more than they let on, but when a local teenager goes missing, it's no longer clear who she can trust. The next book is The White Tiger by Aravinda. I don't know anything about this, and I'm kind of glad I don't. I know it's important. I know that, winner of the Booker Prize. I know that everybody bangs on about it who's read it, and I'm really excited to read it. At the back it just says, "Meet Balram Holway, the White Tiger," or Holway, I hope I said that correct. Servant, philosopher, entrepreneur, murderer. I don't know anything else about it. This was a gift last Christmas, not the one just gone, but the one before, from my brother, and I need to just read it, and I'm sure it will be brilliant. It seems to me like it might be literary fiction, and literary fiction is something I enjoy thoroughly, so I'm really excited to read this one, and I literally know nothing about it, which is preferable, so there you go, that's all I know. The next book that I want to read in 2022 is The Vanishing Half by Bennett. I believe this is about two sisters. As they've grown up and grown apart, one of them is living a life passing as a white woman, I believe. Across the country, many years later, one sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. Across the country, the other secretly passes for white, and her white husband knows nothing of her past. Still, although separated by so many miles and just as many lies, the fate of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen when their own daughter's storylines intersect? I feel like this is going to be a really interesting conversation, a really emotional family story with really interesting conversations about race, and I am really excited to read it, and it's genuinely shameful I haven't done so yet. The next one is Ghosts, there's an S there, by Dolly Alderton. I don't really know anything about this. I think this is definitely one of those sort of hype buy situations. I saw everybody on Instagram talking about it, and I was like, Okay. I haven't read Dolly Alderton's non-fiction. I know this was her fiction debut. Nina Dean has arrived at her early 30s as a successful food writer with loving friends and family, plus a new home and neighbourhood. When she meets Max, a beguiling romantic hero who tells her on date 1 that he's going to marry her, it feels like all is going to plan. So I feel like it's going to be like a slightly comedic novel about a crisis at 30 and romance and probably self-love and all of that stuff. Next read is One Last Stop by Casey Mcquisten. I don't read enough romance, and I am hopefully rectifying that very soon, but just to be sure, I'm putting this on here. This is a romance set in New York City. Our main character, August, is apparently like all anti-romance, and then she gets onto the subway one day and she meets Jane. Jane is dazzling, charming, mysterious, and impossible apparently. But then I think it's time travel. Like, Jane is displaced in time and she's stuck on the subway out of her own time. She's like from the 1970s. So, you know, you're gonna mix like adorable romance with time travel and I'm here. So I've talked about this more recently, so I won't say too much more, but I just really need to read more romance. So prioritizing this one specifically to hold myself accountable. In a similar vein, The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary is a fairly famous romance at this point. I haven't read any Beth O'Leary, but she's got like this and The Road Trip and something else. She's got some like well-loved romance, and I'd really like to read the rest of her stuff after this, if this is good. I'm hoping it will be. I'm sure it will be, but we'll see. I believe The Flat Share is based on two main characters literally share this flat, but one of them works nights and one of them works days, so they sleep in like the same bed and stuff, but they've never met each other because they use the flat at times where the other isn't around. So I'm really expecting a cute sort of starting with little messages and notes thing, or happy coincidences and stuff like that. I think that's a cool idea. It takes the one bed trope to a whole new level, and I am really looking forward to reading it. Next one on my list is The Dictionary of Lost Words. This is one that my mum just got me for Christmas/birthday. I cannot remember which one. I'm really excited for this. It's historical fiction, it's feminist. On the back it says some words are more important than others. I learned this growing up in the scriptorium, but it took me a long time to understand why. I think the premise of this is that our main character, Esme, she grows up motherless and her father works in a scriptorium as a lexicographer, and they're gathering the words for the very first Oxford English Dictionary, and it's about her learning about what words make it, what words don't, I guess, and like how words interact with gender and how words always, the nature of them is different when applied to women. And I just think that's really interesting, and I don't know anything outside of that, how this story goes and how that works. I think she starts to collate another dictionary, the Dictionary of Lost Words, to do with lost meanings about women, because men wrote the dictionary and have control over that narrative. So yeah, the next book is The Haunting Season by various authors, because it is a collection of short stories. It is on this list because it's a collection of short stories, but also because it seems to be spooky, and both of those things are great. My brother bought me this for Christmas/birthday, and I'm really excited because it's the only collection of short stories that I own, and I really want to read more collections of short stories. So I'm hoping this one's really great, and I am prioritizing this one. I'm hoping to either read it very soon or towards the end of this year, because it is winter themed and I'd like to be in the zone for that. It says ghostly tales for long winter nights, so it's spooky stuff. It says taking you from a bustling Covent Garden Christmas market to frosty moors of Yorkshire, from a country estate with a dreadful secret to a London mansion where a beautiful girl lies frozen in death. There are stories to make your hair stand on end, send shivers down your spine, and to serve as your indispensable companion to the long nights of winter. The final two books on this list, we're finally at the end, thank you for being patient with me, but the final two books that are on this list are romance again, and they are purely hype-based. So the first one is The Hating Game, which most of you will know has recently been turned into a TV show. I have to read this before I watch that, and I'm trying to read more romance anyway, so what better to prioritize than this, so I can then enjoy a fun show as well. I believe it's enemies to lovers, which is one of my favorite romantic tropes, and it's like office-based romance. I don't know if there's much more to it than that, but I'm hoping it's a really like fun time, and I hope then that the show will be a really fun time. And then the next one is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I don't know why I have such an aversion to reading Colleen Hoover. I don't know if it's because I think I'll get sucked in and have to read all of it, or whether I'm worried it's going to be like, I don't know. I'm prioritizing this one, not only because of the hype and because it's Colleen Hoover and I'm going to make a big deal out of reading my first Colleen Hoover, but also because my sister-in-law, this is her copy, and she would not let me leave when we were visiting if I didn't have this with me, because she wants me to read it so bad. So Iona, if you're watching, this is for you, and I'm gonna get to it really soon so you can have your book back. But yeah, I am prioritizing my first Colleen Hoover in 2022, and I have mixed feelings about it, but here we are. Alright, so those are the 22 books that I am prioritizing in 2022, and hopefully come December of this year, we can look back on this together and tick them all off and celebrate, and I can reward myself for reading all of these books. I hope that happens, but you know, we'll see. But yeah, let me know if any of these books are books that you either already love, because obviously none of these are really new releases. Let me know if you've read them, if you're excited to see what I think about them, I guess, or if they're books that you also need to get to and want to prioritize and read with me throughout the year. Thank you so much for sitting here and listening to me list some books. All the, you know, relevant links are in the description down below and everything if you're interested in Instagram and Goodreads and all that good stuff. Thank you for hanging out with me in my book place, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!